Welcome to Miniwebtool. You know that little square root button on your calculator? It seems so simple, right? But what if I told you that one button is a doorway to a world of numbers so weird, so strange, that for centuries people just called them imaginary? Well, today we're diving headfirst into the beautiful messiness of square roots. Okay, let's start with something we can all agree on. A square. I mean, it's a square. 4 equal sides, 4 right angles. Super simple. If one side is, say, 3 units long, the area is 9. We're all on the same page here, right? Easy stuff. But what if we flip that around? What if we start with the area instead of the side? So I've got a square, and its area is 25. What's the length of one side? You probably just thought 5, because, well, 5 times 5 is 25. And just like that, congratulations, you found a square root. See? Not so scary. Yet. Okay, now for the curveball. What if the area is 32? All of a sudden we're kind of stuck. I mean, 5 times 5 is 25. That's too small. 6 times 6 is 36. That's too big. The answer is somewhere in between. It's in this weird land of messy, endless decimals. And that, my friends, is where our journey really kicks off. So here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to look at how this simple square leads to such a messy problem. Then, we'll face down 3 big math hurdles that trip everybody up. After that, we'll actually make sense of those messy numbers, and we're even going to invent a new one. And finally, I'm going to show you the tool that just solves all of this, period. So how can such a basic shape cause such a headache? Well, the truth is, the world just isn't always made of neat, tidy, whole numbers. And square roots, they're the language we use to describe that beautifully messy reality. Let's be honest, for most of us, our relationship with square roots is complicated. We know the button exists, but when things get a little weird, we just hit a wall. Today, we're going to break down those walls, one by one. So, hurdle number 1, this idea that only perfect numbers are easy. We love perfect squares like 9 or 25 because they give us these nice, clean answers. But what about all the other numbers, the rebels, like 2, or our new friend 32? Yeah, their square roots are a whole different kind of animal. Just take a look at this. This is the square root of 2. And it's wild. The decimals just keep going and going and going. Forever. With no repeating pattern. It never ends. This is what mathematicians call an irrational number. And it's this little glimpse into the true chaotic nature of the number world. Alright, hurdle number 2. The impossible negative. We've all been there. You see a problem like, what's the square root of -9? And your brain just kind of freezes. A positive times a positive is positive. A negative times a negative is also positive. So how on earth can you multiply a number by itself and get a negative? It feels like a total dead end. And what does our trusty calculator say about it? Syntax error. It's basically the calculator throwing its hands in the air and saying, I give up. It's that moment of pure mathematical frustration. We've all felt it. And that brings us to hurdle number 3, what I call the precision trap. You see, your calculator gives you, what, maybe 10 decimals? And for most everyday stuff, that's totally fine. But in the real world, good enough can sometimes be a complete disaster. I'm not just talking about getting a question wrong on a test. I'm talking about bridges collapsing because of a tiny miscalculation, satellites flying off course into deep space, secret codes being broken. In these high-stakes fields, every single one of those decimal points matters. A lot. Okay, so we've laid out the problems. Now for the fun part. Let's find some solutions. We're going to pull back the curtain on these messy numbers and show you just how elegant the ideas behind them really are. Let's just go back to basics for a second. The definition of a square root is simple. The square root of y is just whatever number x that when you multiply by itself, you get y. That's it. It's a simple, beautiful, and really powerful idea. So where do these crazy irrational numbers actually show up in the real world? You might be surprised. They're actually hiding in plain sight, all around us, in the world of shapes and geometry. And the key to finding them is a little thing you might remember from school called the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, picture a right triangle where the 2 shorter sides are both exactly 1 unit long. According to old Pythagoras, 1 squared plus 1 squared equals the longest side squared. So that means 2 equals the longest side squared. And that means the length of that side has to be the square root of 2. All of a sudden, our messy, chaotic, irrational number isn't just an idea anymore. It has a real, physical meaning. It's a line you can actually draw and measure. Now, let's go back to that dreaded error message. For hundreds of years, the square root of a negative number was considered impossible. They literally called these numbers imaginary, just to get them out of the way. But then, a few really clever, really brave mathematicians asked a totally revolutionary question. What if the problem isn't the numbers? What if the problem is just our rules? What if we could just invent a new rule, a whole new number, that could turn this impossible problem into a gateway to an entirely new universe of math? And so, the imaginary unit I was born. The idea is so simple, it's brilliant. They just said, let's define I as the number whose square is -1. That's it. It's a new piece on the chessboard, a new rule for a new game, and it changes absolutely everything. So let's look at our old enemy again, the square root of -9. With our new rule, we can think of it as the square root of 9 times the square root of -1. Well, we know the square root of 9 is 3. And now, thanks to our new friend I, we've defined the square root of -1 as just I. So the answer is 3i, just like that. The impossible just became possible. So we've traveled through the world of irrational numbers and even imaginary numbers. We've seen how these strange but beautiful ideas are actually super important for understanding our world. But what if you had a tool that could let you explore all of this stuff for yourself? A tool as powerful as your own curiosity? Well, here at Miniwebtool, we built a square root calculator that's made for explorers. You see, while other calculators just give you an error message, we give you an answer complete with I. While they stop at a handful of decimals, we can give you up to 1,000. It's basically the tool we wish we'd had when we were first discovering how cool all this math stuff really is. So, what have we actually learned today? We've seen that the humble square root is way more than just a button on a calculator. It's really a key, one that unlocks some of the deepest and coolest secrets in all of mathematics. Here are the 4 big things to remember. 1. Square roots are the link between a square's area and its side. 2. Most numbers have irrational square roots with those wild, never-ending decimals. 3. That impossible square root of a negative number, it's solved by our imaginary friend I. And finally, 4. Precision is everything when you're building the future. You've just taken a huge step on an amazing journey of discovery. So now, it's time to take the next one. What are you going to calculate first? The square root of your favorite number? A number so huge it fills up your whole screen with decimals? Head on over to miniwebtool.com and let your curiosity run wild. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to Miniwebtool for more mathematical adventures just like this one.